right, hey, it's Scott Penfold, and it's another edition of the Loaded Radio podcast. Big show this week, and I'm talking really big, man. I'm going to be talking to CROBOT. Yeah, how great is that, man? I am a huge CROBOT fan, and the fact that I'm going to be able to speak with Brandon Yeagley and Chris Bishop, the founding members of CROBOT, is a very, very cool thing for me, man. Now, if you've not heard of CROBOT, they're a great American hard rock band from Pottsville, Pennsylvania. And they're a foursome that just really bring it when you call, I don't really know what you'd call them. Stoner metal, grunge, hard rock. It's just dirty stuff, and it's just awesome, man. And they got the new album, Obsidian, which is going to be arriving September the 13th. And the tracks I've heard from it are just absolutely stunning, man. Just big, dirty riffs and all the awesomeness you would expect from CROBOT. So coming up very soon in the show, Brandon and Chris from CROBOT going to be joining me. As well, going to be starting something new, a new feature here on the Loaded Radio podcast, as well as on the live radio station that we do. And that is called Fresh Meat, where I am going to be speaking with an up-and-coming hard rocker metal band, find out a little bit about them, and introduce them to you, and even play one of their songs for you, so that you can see if you dig them, all right? Because I think that, it's really important to bring attention to some of the great independent hard rock and metal bands out there, and some of the ones that are on the rise. So tonight is the first edition of Fresh Meat, where I'm going to be speaking to Gheeyah from Mind of Fury, okay? And just a very cool melodic heavy metal band. Think Pantera meets Yngwie Malmsteen, but you throw a little dash of power metal in there, and maybe even a little bit of Metallica, like riff-wise, and then you got yourself Mind of Fury. Now, they're based out of Florida, but Gheeyah is originally from Chile, and they're an absolutely killer power trio. They got 3 albums out now, and they have the new album called 3, and this latest album really does highlight the band's tightness, their abilities, and just how absolutely awesome they are. So they're going to be the first band that are going to be featured on Fresh Meat, where we here at Loaded Radio are going to be introducing you to some of the up-and-coming metal bands within the scene right now, and giving them some exposure, because hey man, that's what it's all about, right? That's what the scene's all about. So do stick around for that as well, coming up after my talk with the guys in CROBOT. All right, but as we look in the news, a few things going on in hard rock and metal, and this one kind of taken me by surprise, as guitarist Mike Spreitzer has announced his exit from Devil Driver. Yeah, now he intends to devote his focus on his fledgling goth metal band Verona on Venus, which he got going last year. And in a statement regarding his departure, he said that after 20 years of playing guitar for Devil Driver, I've decided it's time to go on my own way. Since around 2014, Devil Driver gradually started to feel more like a part-time job. Our touring schedule is not what it used to be, and I want to get back to being a full-time musician. And we went on to add that just lately he hasn't really been, getting that work because, well, Dez has been working with Cold Chamber and has also been recently dealing with some more health problems. Hopefully Dez pulls through with that stuff. But he says it's time to step away, and he is going to be working with Verona on Venus. And he does wish the guys in Devil Driver all the best. So there is no hostility there. But Mike's going to be missed, man. He was a great part of Devil Driver. He's been with him for like 20 years. A great player too. So yeah, Mike, all the best. You will be missed. Also, one-time Lamb of God drummer Chris Adler's got a new band now. Yeah, it's called Shallow Rising. And the new project is actually spearheaded by guitarist Tim Osenfort. He's formerly a Deep Fall. And it sees those two joining up with vocalist Alex Villarreal, bassist Taylor Brandt, and keyboardist Tim King, also formerly a Deep Fall. And yeah, you can check out their new song Further. And they also have a new song called Remorse Code, which is going to be dropping on September the 10th. So a new band featuring Chris Adler, formerly Lamb of God. And again, they are called Shallow Rising. Now, I don't know what this means when it comes to the status of his other band, Firstborn, but there's been no word that Firstborn is going to be going anywhere. So that's cool too. I guess just staying busy these days. A lot of guys in hard rock and metal taking on multiple gigs. So yeah, do check out the new stuff there from Chris Adler's new band, Shallow Rising. It also looks like Spiritbox are teasing some upcoming new music. Now, they've launched a pre-save for app.spiritbox.com, and those who take the steps to do so are going to be treated to what appears to be a brief tease of what the band have in store. So if you're a fan of Spiritbox, you may want to get on that, man. Yes, again, that is app, all right, app.spiritbox.com. New stuff going to be dropping from them hopefully soon, it looks like. Get yourself a sample of that because, they're an absolutely incredible band, man. They're one of my favorite bands right now, and I think that they sound just absolutely killer with what they do. Kerry King recently giving an interview where he said he is not against playing more Slayer reunion shows. Now, the band have 3 shows they're going to be playing at this month and next month, okay? The concert's going to be coming 5 years after the completion of what was being billed as the band's final tour. Now, when talking about the new anniversary shows with the Los Angeles Times, Kerry said, "Will there be more? I don't know. Will we ever record again? Definitely not. Will we ever tour again? Definitely not. But a show here and there to make some people happy, I'm not against that." So if you're a fan of Slayer and you're one of the people that's actually happy that Slayer's back, well, that could be some good news for you. And finally, if you're a fan of Judas Priest, it looks like their debut album, Rock-a-Rolla, is getting the remixed version, okay? It's finally on the way. It's finally got the production it's always needed. And recently, bassist Ian Hill confirming that there are plans to reissue the band's debut album, which came out in 1974, to celebrate its 50th anniversary. Now, Ian said it's just been re-engineered by longtime Priest producer Tom Allom after all these years. And he said the multi-tracks are in remarkably good condition, and it's only a few weeks away. But it's been redone, and we are going to be getting the remix of Rock-a-Rolla, possibly Sad Wings of Destiny, to follow as well. So that is definitely some good news for fans of Judas Priest, especially when it comes to the early stuff, you know what I'm saying? But nonetheless, okay, there you go. You're caught up now when it comes to news. Let's get down to these 2 gentlemen who are now joining me. A couple of guys from a band called CROBOT. Yeah, Pottsville, Pennsylvania is where they're from. And I'm talking about Brandon Yeagley and Chris Bishop, the founders of the band, who are just we're really at the heartbeat of this band, with Brandon being lead vocalist and harmonica player, and Chris Bishop doing guitars and backing vocals. Their 5th album, Obsidian, drops September the 13th, and man, I am excited for this because I'm a big fan of CROBOT, and it's great to have them on the show. Guys, how you doing? Thanks for joining us on the podcast this week.
Yo, what's up?
Hey!
I really do appreciate you guys taking the time to talk to me today. I love CROBOT. This is awesome. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
I want to really jump into Obsidian because I've heard the album Serious Ass Kickery. I got to ask though, after listening to it, maybe this is just my impression of it, is Obsidian somewhat of a concept album? Is there like a running theme with this?
I mean, it's the way these songs kind of came about as a collective, as they more often than not do, is just, cream of the crop rises to the top, as Macho Man Randy Savage would say. So the theme kind of, haphazardly falls into its own kind of soup, if you will. But these songs were a little different in that, some of these songs were years old. Bishop, 4 or 5 years old, maybe even longer. So some of these were not necessarily a snapshot, of where we were at in the last couple of years of writing. So some of these we pulled out of the closet and kind of shook the dust off of them. So the way these songs fit together thematically just sort of happened in a serendipitous type of way. But nonetheless, it's all very much about, trying to understand yourself as a human. What do you value? What do you find? What are the important things? For instance, are you chasing the wrong rabbit through life? And what sort of things are down to your core values, and reflecting on that and kind of, destroying yourself to rebuild it almost. And, that's a lot of where the themes went lyrically with this record.
And Chris, what are your thoughts on the album?
I think I can definitely see how, people would think it's, has a theme, because we definitely made the sequencing that way. There is space and there's like interludes.
Yeah.
And there's ending such a dark record with the song Happiness, like the light at the end of the tunnel sort of a thing. But, it's definitely one of I'd say it's our most like complete record as like a standalone record. I think that it gets to the point, but I mean, but it's like, it has its peaks and valleys, and it's more of a listening experience. And we made it consciously made that effort to have spaces where things breathe and where you get to settle into songs. And, sometimes there's a little instrumental section, and we're not trimming all the fat on all the songs, and Brandon's not, putting vocals on every second of every song. There's space to breathe. And I think that helps for a listening experience.
It certainly does. And, some of the tracks that certainly at least jumped out to me. I mean, first off, the title track is phenomenal. It's just so epic and awesome. What can you guys tell me about the title track, first off?
I wrote the music to that not super long. That was one of the first songs I wrote for this record. And then Dan came over, played some drums on it, and we gave it to Brandon, and he put some vocals on it, and it was great, and it just sat there. And we kept coming back to it, but we've always thought that there was just a better chorus or something. And we worked on it, changed the vocals a few different times, and finally we were just like, all right, we know this song's going to go on the record either way, but let's just send it to Howard Jones and let him start thinking and see, because we thought it could be a really, really big song. Then we told him the name of the record was Obsidian, and we didn't have a title track yet. We told him to brainstorm on that, and he came back with some ideas, and him and Brandon worked it out, and that's what it is today. That's how that song sort of came to be.
Has there been a long-time relationship with Howard?
Yeah, he worked with us on the
Rat Child.
Yeah, Rat Child EP. He came down to Austin and recorded some songs. We wrote 2 or 3 songs together with him, and he's just been a fan and long time co-writer of the band. He's one of the few people we will go to and still to this day co-write songs with.
Brandon, what can you tell me about the song Come Down?
I think we initially started out trying to make it not a heavy song.
you sort of kind of tell, sure.
It certainly didn't go as planned. So we just kind of embraced the Soundgarden influence that, kind of just surrounds the band constantly. And we just wanted to make an epic grunge stoner metal jam that was what it is. And we didn't necessarily, like Bishop was saying before, we're just going to let the song breathe. It sort of feels like it's slow and sludgy, but that's kind of what we want it to be. It's meant to be that kind of journey. And I just remember getting in, actually right here where I'm at right now. I remember throwing the headphones on, picking up the microphone, and I just remember, hey kids, settle down. Don't you know your head's up in the clouds? That's just kind of just came out. And, sometimes you just leave it there. It doesn't need to make sense, although I tried to, make the rest of the song make sense out of that one line that just kind of came out and stuck. But that's what I remember the most about the song is that, I just got in here and I threw on whatever the guys sent my way, and I just got my hands dirty, and I don't think it really changed too much for me of what I just kind of regurgitated out of this room right here. It was one of those songs that felt right, the way it landed, and we didn't really question it, and you just kind of put it out there as it is.
It's almost like sometimes, when people ask you, where did you get these ideas from songs? And it's essentially, you're kind of almost like channeling something, and you're not even sure where it comes from, and it doesn't even have to make sense, but it's got that brilliance to it. And I find that Come Down is just awesome that way.
Oh, thanks, man. It's flow. That's the best way I've heard it described. It's just this flow state where you have no recollection of memory, time, any concepts other than just, being a vessel, really is exactly how you described. And that was Come Down for me.
There's this guy that talks about that, and he talks about it as called downloading. That's what he calls creativity and the creative source. And there's a bunch of rules that he follows, and one is being really hydrated, because it's helps all your electrons fire properly.
Sure.
No drugs, no caffeine. 8 hours of sleep, or however many out, like however much sleep you get, and then make yourself go back to sleep for an hour. That's one of the interesting rules. I was like, it's cool, but it's all like he does all this thing to be a clean vessel for creativity, because that's something that us as humans really haven't put any research into.
No, and you know what? Usually when it comes to creativity, a lot of artists will go the opposite way. Some will look to substance or substances to try and enhance that creativity. So I find that fascinating. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'm turning into a hippie the older I get.
Welcome.
Another great song is the song Nothing. What can you guys tell me about that one?
We started, me and Dan wrote that in the era of the writing where we were just really Motorhead driven.
Cool.
Everything was super fast and bluesy and speed rock, and we don't have a lot of those songs in our catalog, so we really wanted to tap into that. And from the moment we wrote it, it was one of our favorites for sure. And then once we all got in on it and Brandon wrote that chorus, it just set it over the top.
Brandon, what are your thoughts on it?
It was right in your face from the get-go. It's not something we usually like set the song up, and we kind of had that conversation as to how we wanted to go about coming in with the song. Should it have an intro and whatnot? But we ultimately landed on just pounding right in the face right from the start of the song. But it was really fun to make the music video. We had a blast, and I think that's part of who we are as a band. We just try to make everything as much part of our character as we can, and that we definitely hit the nail on the head with our new music video for that one. And from concept to paper to screen to YouTube, it's just one of those ideas you're like, nah, that's never gonna happen. Yeah, we're gonna make a music video about Bigfoot. That's never going to happen. Oh, we want to try to like compete with Harry the Henderson. Yeah, that's only like the best Bigfoot movie ever made. We're never going to compete with that, And just looking back at it, it's just very, we just didn't. We got our hands dirty, and we just kept saying, yeah, this could work. And it's all part of being aloof in our constant state of existence, is just not really thinking much is a bad idea to entertain. So I attribute it to our aloofness and just perseverance. But I think it turned out great. I'm super proud of everything we've been doing with this record, with content, and we're kind of the masters of our own creations now with everything that encapsulates the band. So it's a good position to be in for us. We love doing everything that we do here with the band, and to have a music video where we can kind of stretch those muscles and do those things too is just really it's relieving.
And to sidestep and go back to what Chris had mentioned, the Motorhead aspect. You guys did the motorboat with Motorhead. You guys have done some touring with Motorhead. I do want to ask, before we get back into the album, like, what was that experience like? I mean, did you guys get close with Motorhead? Did you guys get close with Lemmy? And
yeah, I mean, we that was the last American Motorhead tour. So Lemmy was, he was feeling it. He was getting up there in age and starting to slow down a little bit, but he was so nice to us, and the crew was phenomenal. Phil Campbell was the practical joker of all practical jokers. Like Anthrax was on tour one night. They were coming off stage, and Phil Campbell ran into their dressing room with his laptop and pulled his pants down and acted like he was jacking off. And so when Anthrax walked in, Phil was just like, oh, and then he just ran out with his laptop and his pants around his ankles. Even though they were they were older dudes, and they were still having a blast. And it was one of the milestones of our careers for sure.
Brandon, did you have any particular memories of that?
Yeah. Yeah. It was the first time I was ever really starstruck. The first time we were, I don't remember where it was. I could picture the room, but it was just like this huge, like hotel conference lobby area. And Lemmy walks into the room, and this place could have been 100,000 feet wide. Right. And you would still be like, oh, there he is over there. And, with binoculars, you could still feel the presence of Lemmy. It was insane. It was insane. It's like, yeah, this dude's like one of the greatest quotes from a movie of all time. Trick question. Lemmy is God. It's like, that's the dude. That's the dude right there. And, nice as pie. We were really intimidated on that tour because you're opening for Motorhead, and that's just, hard to think of in a band like us, where I come out in golden spandex, and just wondering what's going to happen to us if we're going to even survive. Right. But they were so awesome. Like, Motorhead fans were some of the best fans that we've ever played in front of. There were a number of other tours that we've been a part of that were way more intimidating at the end of it than Motorhead was. So from the band to the crew to the fans, super sweet, and Lemmy would take time to just hang out after shows and talk to fans. And, it was really an incredible experience for us, for sure.
And just listening to CROBOT, you can hear so many different influences there, individually and as a band. I got to ask, who are those influences that really drive you both? I mean, individually and, of course, as a band when it comes to CROBOT.
I think, from the get-go, it was like Queens of the Stone Age, Soundgarden, and Clutch. Those were like the big three, and Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah.
Or Audio Slave. Those are like the big ones. And then, there's all just anything that's always on the funkier side of like heavy rock or just rock and roll in general. Like, you got your like ZZ Top boogie, like boogie blues,
yep.
Like ZZ Top, and even like Skinner, like they've got a lot of stuff. It's got a lot of that boogie to it, and that is a big influence on me. And trying to put that into heavy music. Yeah, that's a tough one, but it's like not really. I mean, you look at like Pantera. Like they did that. They did a lot of that without people knowing it. There's a lot of like heavy groove and funk sort of riffing, in Pantera songs. That's why they've always been one of my favorite bands, for that reason.
A co-headlining tour with you guys in Clutch would be one of the most awesomest tours, I think, in the world. So if you can ever make that happen, I would love to see that happen.
Neil Fallon was he did the intro for The Flood on the new record, and that was our first time having him on a track, and we were just super excited.
That's incredible. Brandon, how about for yourself?
Of course, Chris Cornell. I know that we wear that one on our sleeves right out in the open, but Chris Cornell is a huge influence on me and has become more and more of an influence on me as time progresses. But always loved the hometown bands that came out of Pennsylvania. That's where I started. Breaking Benjamin, Hailstorm, Fuel, Live. All those bands came up out of Pennsylvania, and I watched that as a young musician and aspiring to do what they did, and really looking up to them and seeing that it's possible. So to them for the work ethic and stylistically, Chris Cornell, Ronnie James Dio. I grew up with the titans of proto metal, the Sabbaths, the Deep Purple, all that stuff. Glenn Hughes and Richie Kotzen. I got into Richie Kotzen for a big amount of time.
Cool.
Chris Robinson from Black Crowes. James Brown. I've got James Brown tattooed on my foot. Elvis. Prince is on the wall over here. So it's pretty eclectic, but at the same time, I think it's relative and kind of what Bishop's talking about. It's the funk, it's the groove, it's the soulfulness, whether it's metal or funk or or groove oriented music. It's kind of the thread that we all hold collectively.
I got to ask, what's behind the name CROBOT? Where did that come from?
So our merch guy, cousin Dave, he was in a band at the time, and I asked him if he had any old band names laying around, and he asked what we sounded like. And I said, well, it's sort of like crowbar sounding riffs, but I'm using like a robotic effect. And he just said CROBOT. And that was like the only thing that we liked. Everything else was horrible. I found the list of names in my notes in my phone from years ago. It is hilarious to go down the line and see some of those horrible names we were thinking about.
Do you remember any of them?
Robot Johnson was one. I sort of like that.
I kind of like that too.
We could have been Robot Johnson.
Oh, that's awesome. It's funny. I spoke to Kirk Winstein recently. I was talking to him about what he's doing with Down and stuff. But yeah, I love Crowbar, and I love the fact that it's sort of, brought in with CROBOT. That's pretty awesome.
Yep.
When it comes to, I guess, however, every sort of band has got to be categorized into a certain, genre or subgenre or subgenre these days. Do you guys embrace the term like stoner rock, or do you even classify yourselves as anything that would be considered a subgenre?
I often find it's hard for us, so we've just kind of made our own genres up over the years.
Yeah, sure.
But I think it's got to change again, Bishop. I don't know. We've been saying like we're dirty groove rock or we're serious rock business, but I don't think we're a rock band anymore. I think we're past that. I think we've definitely worn more of our metal influences on our sleeves the last couple albums. I tend to think we're maturing, certainly as songwriters, and we're figuring it out still. But at the same time, we've always understood our identity, and it's always been this. But what it is, I don't exactly know. It's funky, it's groovy. We like to keep your head bobbing. That's something that's constantly going into every song that we have. We want to make sure you can move to it because we like to move to it. So I don't necessarily know what to call it. Stoner rock is probably the closest thing, but even that, again, I don't know that we can consider ourselves a rock band anymore.
Yeah, I think like there's a lot like. The modern grunge, I would say that, right? But when I hear bands that are modern grunge, we don't sound anything like that. I think like authentic grunge to that early period of like the heavier stuff, like because you got to think it was coming. Soundgarden was coming out of like they got a lot of flack for playing like Led Zeppelin sounding riffs, Yeah. And it was with this heavier edge. And that's sort of what we're doing as well. Like we're playing like, Skinner or Zeppelin and Sabbath riff, but it's like coming out of us a little bit heavier, so maybe grunge, maybe we're a grunge band, stoner rock band, modern. Yeah, it's hard to say. It's just we've always, like Brandon was saying, we've always sort of just been in the middle of so many different genres, which is a blessing and a curse. Because of that, we've been able to open for a lot of different bands, and that's helped us.
Sure.
But it's also been hard for us to really find our flag of people. It's just CROBOT fans are CROBOT fans, and some CROBOT fans listen to Nashville modern country music, and some people listen to Danzig, so it's all over the place.
You guys have always been the core of the band. You guys really were there from the very beginning. Why do you think there's been so many personnel changes with your rhythm section in this band?
I think
you go ahead first.
I honestly, I think, it's just tough.
Yeah.
It's tough to do what we do. I don't consider us tough people to be around. I really don't. I think we're very easy, especially when it comes to the writing and creativity. We just kind of like think tank everything. It's never like, egos don't get in the way, and we just love doing what we do, and we're going to keep doing it no matter what happens to us. And I think sometimes it's like people are like, oh, you guys are like sleeping in a van. Oh, you guys are like, wow, this doesn't pay very well, does it? I can't really like feed my family off of this. Are you sure this is what this is? Like, yeah, no, this is what this is. You either love it or you don't do it. And I'm not saying that that's what the part that got in the way of, the changes that we've had in the rhythm section. I think it's just, it's as things kind of progress, you don't see really things taken off like you might think that they do overnight. And it's just this slow grinding process that Bishop and I are okay with. We gave this up, years ago when we just were like, you know what, screw this. We're going to do this our own way. And whatever comes from it, we're going to be happy. We're going to say this is authentic. This is who we are. And we're not going to question it. So come whatever may. But I think that it's tough. It's tough being a musician today. It's tough being a touring musician today. Let alone sleeping in a van. That's what we do. We pull up to a Planet Fitness parking lot every night and we sleep in the van, and we wake up, we work out, we take care of ourselves as much as we can out there on the road. Yeah, we have a good time and we love hanging out with each other and we love doing it, but it's tough. It doesn't pay very well, and you have to love everything about this. And Bishop and I have been in this since 2011, and to have somebody come in and be in it for 2 years and kind of ask the same out of them as us, it gets hard sometimes. And you kind of just, at some point you were like, all right, yeah, we totally understand why you're leaving. Yeah, we get it. And it's usually nothing personal. It's usually business, and that's what ends up being the kicker. But we are really happy. We're in a great spot with Pat Seals now, and he's just a monster of a bass player, such a great person to boot, and just an enigma that we kind of have yet to uncover all of the cool factor that Pat has. But he's just stepped in and stepped up and really just became a part of everything that we do, and just wanted to be there. So we're thankful to have him aboard.
Chris, would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I just think, you get older. As you get older, things get harder, and we have to have a certain level of bass player, and a lot of times, at our level, the good guys get swooped up and taken. I mean, Tim left for Alien Ant Farm, and life happens, and we totally support that. He's doing that, and our Eddie, our good friend, he's makes a lot of money being a tech guy for Anthrax and Guar, and he's more on that side of things now. And we're glad that we still have him in our back pocket, because Flyleaf. Pat plays for Flyleaf, so sometimes he has to go play festivals. So when that happens, at least we have two guys we can call to come and fill in, when we absolutely have to. But yeah, it's just one of those things. Me and Brandon, we do all the work that no one wants to do. We kick the can down the road for the band, because CROBOT will always put out records, and we'll always make stuff. And a lot of people, you can't ask the same for everyone, and sometimes life happens.
Will there be more sleeping in the vans in the near future? Is there going to be some tour dates coming up?
Oh yeah, we're heading out with CKY, getting ready on a little under 2 weeks now. We'll be heading out for the second leg of the tour with them, and it was a great first leg, so we're very excited about this next run, and we hope to get overseas in the new year and continue touring the US, because this record's just coming out, and we don't want to be sitting on our hands. That's for sure.
You guys are awesome, and thank you so much for the time today, man. It's been so great talking to you guys. It's been so cool, and I could talk to you guys for another hour easily. You guys are just so awesome. So thank you very, very much for this, and your time has been so greatly appreciated, both of you.
Well, I appreciate it.
Thanks, Scott.
You,
all right, all the best, gentlemen. We'll see you out there on the road.
Yeah.
There we go. That is Brandon and Chris from CROBOT. And great talking with them, man. That Motorhead story was great. I keep thinking about that. That's hilarious. The new album, Obsidian, drops September the 13th. Make sure you grab that, give it a listen, man. It's just killer stuff, man. It's just some dirty rock. It's really great. Stoner metal, call it whatever you want. It's just straight up riff-driven, dirty, heavy rock. Okay? But it's now time for a new feature we're doing here on the podcast called Fresh Meat, where I introduce you to an up-and-coming hard rock or metal band, okay? It could be an independent band. It could be a band maybe on a smaller label, but it's definitely a band that I feel deserves some exposure here on Loaded Radio via the stream and, of course, right here on the podcast. And we're going to play something from them for you, too. And the name of the band this week is Mind of Fury, okay? They've been around since September of 2015. Melodic heavy metal is what they are, man. They're a trio made up of Gheeyah, who's the main man on guitar and vocals. Henry Marino and Mike Frankenbush in the band as well, wrapping up the trio. And they've got their third album, 3, which is available now. And Gheeyah, who originally hails from Chile, and now resides in Florida, joining me here on the podcast to talk about, well, the new album 3 and all things Mind of Fury. And here he is. Gheeyah, how you doing today, man? And thanks for joining us on the first edition of Fresh Meat here on the Loaded Radio podcast.
Very good. And you?
Great. Thanks for taking the time to talk to me today.
Definitely. Very good.
Before we get into the new album 3, for people who don't know and for people who have not heard of Mind of Fury, explain to me first off how the band came together and what exactly people can expect when they first experience Mind of Fury.
I should start explaining how I came to the United States of America first.
Sure, by all means, yeah.
Well, I'm a musician. I'm from Chile. Down there, I had a couple successful bands. That was Human Factor, one of them, that I started in 2003. And with that band, I released 2 albums. They were released in Japan and in South America, of course. Back then, when we had albums, in Europe as well, with Mausoleum Records. And in Japan was the name. It had a name, but I don't remember it now. It's been too long. After that band, I had my own band called Gheeyah, like me. It was my solo band. And it was kind of inspired, like, Uli John Roth or Yngwie, where the guitar player has the name of the band. Yeah. But it had a singer. It was a 5-piece band. I released a couple albums with that band. I did a couple of live shows that were available at the time on my website where people can download it. So it was very popular, and really we played in good venues and had a lot of support from the crowd in my country, and did little tours around there. So then I decided to come to the States, and as soon as I came in here, I joined Nick Marino. Nick Marino is the actual keyboard player for Yngwie Malmsteen. Yep. I actually went to the Yngwie Malmsteen show here in Orlando, and I talked to him on the venue, and I'm like, hey man, I'm a guitar player, blah blah blah. I gave him a CD, and if you really need a guitar player, just let me know. On the CD, it had my name and everything. This was early 2013. So he called me a couple days later because the tour ended in Tampa, I think. So he called me like, hey, I really need a guitar player and I really like what you do. So I went to Miami and wrote a couple songs with him, and I joined NZM and I released an album he released his album, was the Eternal Fire album, where I co-wrote, I think was like 5 or 6 songs with him. And it was really cool and successful in a way. We played at Rock and Roll Rips, Nico McBrain, Iron Maiden drummer. Yeah. That restaurant right there, Rock and Roll Rips. So we played that. It was great, but I always had the feeling that, I liked my own stuff better, Sure. Anyways, it was like a dream come true. You're recording an album with Patrick Johansson, Yngwie Malmsteen's drummer, and Nick playing keyboards and singing, and me in the studio recording all the guitars and bass. That was amazing. Like, wow, this is really happening. Mm-hmm. But after we started, playing and everything, the chemistry wasn't, I don't know. I was kind of nostalgic about doing my own thing, Sure. So I decided to form another band, and of course, you have to have your own vision, your own focus. I started looking, and I found Mickey on bass, badass bass player, and Henry Moreno on drums. Yes. And dude, every time we get together and play, it's like, it feels right. There's some magic happening, something that I never felt before playing with other bands. And especially with Mickey, it's like, I don't know, when we play together, it sounds super tight, and Henry, it's the thunder sound and everything. So it's awesome. I did the first album and I got comfortable doing both things. I always did backing vocals and all that stuff, but
So Do or Die was the first album, right?
yeah, Do or Die was the first album.
And when did that come out?
2017. That album has 10 songs and we started playing live. And 1 year after the release of that album, we played Rocklahoma Festival. That was really, really cool.
Yeah, it's a great festival.
Yeah, things started to happen and gel, and we worked on the next album, The Fire, and it was a little bit more heavier. It's heavier, but it's still melodic. That's our style. Imagine Pantera with the singer of Steel Dragon. You remember that movie, Rockstar?
Of course.
So that was kind of the concept. So that's where we started. So our band is basically melodic, but it's really powerful too.
You do bring the shred when it comes to your guitar playing, and I can certainly hear the Yngwie in your playing as well, and I'm sure that he is a massive influence.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, actually, he inspired me to write my own stuff. I'm listening to Odyssey and listening to these brutal leads, and oh no, this is what I'm going.
Right. Tell me about the new album 3, though. Is it a progression of the band's sound, or what exactly can people expect with 3?
3, it's actually really it's aggressive, but at the same time, it's softer.
Okay.
It's like if you listen to the album as a whole, it starts very heavy and then goes into melodic. At the same time, we have the third song in the album. It's called Never Again, and it's more like kind of a Queenstrike kind of a song.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
A
very eclectic sounding album. Then there's a lot of different sounds and a lot of different experiences with this album.
Yeah, but when you're listening as a listener, at least that this is what people have sent to me. But it fits and it works together.
Are you going to be doing any touring for the album? Are you going to be out on the road at all? Have you got any gigs coming up?
Yeah, we're working with the booking agent at the moment to look for dates for next year. So yeah, that's the plan, to go and play live as much as possible and in front of as much people as possible too. Well, in honesty, yeah, I feel that it's the best album I ever written, but it's up to the people, to say. But as far as people have been, listen to it and they're liking it, so I think it's good,
I would recommend that people do check it out, of course. I mean, especially those who are into like guitar-driven power metal and, melodic heavy metal. I think that it would be certainly suitable for people of those tastes, But again, it's a very eclectic album. I mean, I think it could appeal to a broad range of people.
Yeah, definitely. But we're always being melodic, I don't have anything against, the other kinds of metal, but it's what I love. So it's the best, you try to, you do what it feels good to you. And if it feels good to you, it's going to feel good for other people, and it's basically every time I write a song, it's like, I would like to listen to something like this on the radio.
Well, we're going to be playing you on Loaded Radio. So that's a start there. So people will be hearing you.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. It's melodic. Really, lyrically, it's like, experiences that people can relate to, a lot of good stuff, trying to be positive as well. But of course, it's inevitable. For example, Never Again, it's a song about heartbreak. That's a roller coaster too, the lyric part of the song. But I totally encourage people to check it out and let us know what they think. Because I'm already working on some of the brand new what it's coming after this. So
now, do you guys have a website people can check out?
MindTheFuryBand.com.
MindTheFuryBand.com. Check it out. Gheeyah, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us today. Greatly do appreciate that.
Oh, thank you very much. And keep in touch. And if you guys want to follow us on social media, you can find us as at Mind the Fury Band, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, and all those goodies.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Gheeyah. The band is called Mind of Fury. Check them out. And Gheeyah, all the best to you. And we'll be talking to you again in the near future, I'm sure.
Oh, thank you very much.
Take care, my friend.
You too, brother.
He is Gheeyah from Mind of Fury, and they've got the new album 3 out now via Rock Avenue Records USA, and now I'm going to play a track from the album 3. Check this out, man. It's the second track on the album, and it's called Now or Never. New stuff here from the band Mind of Fury right here on Fresh Meat on Loaded Radio. There you go. That is Mind of Fury, and the name of the song is Now or Never, right here on Fresh Meat on Low Radio Podcast. And Jim, definitely check out the band, man. They are killer. Great power trio, now based out of Florida. And going even back to some of their older stuff is great too. Their first two albums are just great. Definitely recommend them. That's why I had to get them on the podcast this week. But that's going to about do it for me this week. Okay, going to wrap it up and get on out of here. But hey, back again next week for an all new edition of the Loaded Radio Podcast, okay, with all the guests and all the news and all the cool stuff, and maybe even another edition of Fresh Meat, okay? We'll see. Always good talking to you, always good hanging. My name is Scott Penfold for Loaded Radio, and we'll talk to you again next week right here on the Loaded Radio podcast. Take care.